class. The Hottie brass band plays music that's, as you know, I study and I write about, but really it's just so close to my heart. I just love this band. I asked Benny a couple months ago if he could do this gig, and he said, "Man, I'm really sorry, I'm on tour in Europe." And then the dates of that tour got moved, and as soon as that happened, we were able to set this back up. So Benny Keats, the band leader of the Hottie, back there with the sousaphone. All the rest of the Hottie up here to talk to you about the brass band tradition in New Orleans, and especially relating it to what we talked about. We talked a lot about hip-hop today, and one of the points I want you to try to think about is how music, one of the ways music in New Orleans has remained so vital is because each new generation picks up this tradition and really takes ownership of it and makes it their own. And so while I know Hottie can play the traditional music and it's going to hopefully start off talking about this legacy that they're the latest addition to, I invited them here today also to play their original music and talk to you about what they've added to the tradition. Great composers, improvisers, musicians. So, Hottie brass band, welcome.
Mic check? Yeah. All right. How y'all doing? My name is Benny Pete, the tuba player, lead of the band. We just let everybody introduce themselves first, and then we're going to get into a little bit about the jazz funerals in New Orleans, and also the second lines, and then mainly about the Hottie brass band ourselves.
Hello, how y'all doing? All right, my name is Harry Cook. I'm the bass drummer, hi-hat cymbal player. I've been playing with that Hottie brass band from the beginning. It's been a nice ride. Wonderful.
How y'all doing? My name is Elwood Johnson, and I just recently joined the Hottie brass band.
Hello, how y'all doing? My name is Raymond Williams. They call me Dr. Rocker, R-A-C-K-L-E. And I've been with the Hottie for about 11 years. And it's been very exciting. You know, ups and downs. But it's been great. It's been a great experience for me. And it's a great opportunity to perform this type of music with the Hottie brass band. And we'll talk about that even more so later.
How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing for real? All right. My name is Terrell Baptiste, a.k.a. Mac Beats, a.k.a. Mr. Two Prosthetics. I can keep going and keep going. But I'm a trumpet player for the Hottie brass band. I've been playing for about 10 years now. And how Rocco said, it's been quite a thrill, ups and downs, and it's just been amazing to actually travel the world and play music with my brothers. So this is not over yet. We still have more music and more places to go.
How y'all doing? My name is Larry Brown. I play the slide trombone for the Hottie brass band. I've been playing trombone for the last 7 years, and I just recently joined the Hottie brass band about 2-3 months ago, and I'm just blessed to have have the chance to play with these guys because they've been around a long time. I've been looking up to them for a long time, so I'm just glad to be here.
Hello, my name is Jerome Jones. I'm an original band member of the Hottie and of the Looney Tunes brass band, an offspring of the Hottie. I'm just coming back to the band. I've been away from the band for close to 3 years. I was in Houston, so I'm glad to be back. I've been back maybe 3 or 4 months now, and everything is still beautiful how it was when I left.
Hello, I'm Clarence Slaughter, also known as Trixie. I've been in the band off and on for about 3 years. I played 2 years with them outside and I learned the music. I also had the opportunity of the last year that we've been playing together to learn everything that I can know about the High Day Brass Band. So I'm proud to, you know, support the music for what it is.
All right, I'm gonna start off with telling y'all a little bit about the band. From our beginning up until the start. Well, until now. I'm just gonna go quick because it's a long story. But like Jerome said, we started. Well, the High Day was formed back in '95. But before then, we were actually the Looney Tunes brass band. That was started, what about the summer of '92, baby? Like summer of '92, and we were all just young kids in high school. We actually all went to school together, me, Jerome, and Harry, and we went to LC 4th Street, right down the street from here, from Red Street. And we were just young, energetic kids, just wanting to have fun, play our instruments at the time. We had enough plan to do in high school, to tell you the truth, because we had morning practice and we had after school practice, but we still had energy left. And actually, me, myself, personally, I was sitting in the barrel one day, and Jerome Jones and Demai Dawson, he's no longer with us, he's deceased, but they approached me at the band room, and it was like, hey Benny, we thinking about starting a second line band, a brass band, and we wanted you to play tuba. And I was like, start a second line band for what? And it was like, well, you can get paid, you can make some money. And I was like, well, we start. It was like, well, we're gonna practice today after school. So just hook up with us downstairs after school. We're gonna walk by Jerome's house and we're gonna meet up and we're gonna start practicing. They had actually already started practicing like a week or two before they called me. So every day after band practice, about 7 o'clock, we would walk down Ferret by Jerome's house on 3rd and Ferret. And yeah, we walked from what that is? Oh, yeah, I can't remember the name. Nashville and Ferret, all the way to 3rd and Ferret, to Jerome's house. And we would rehearse to about 10 o'clock. We had a few old brass band tapes, Rebirth, Treme, Pinstripe, and we would just mimic what we heard and what we listened to. And we did that every day, even on the weekends. And then we started to go in the French quarters and play on the weekends and stuff. And what happened was, while we were doing that, we began to build up a following in the audience. And around that time, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, the sun was kind of going down a little bit. It's a little cooler. People getting off of work, they would get off the bus, hear the music, and they would come over to check us out and get their crawfish, their seafood and stuff, and hang out and listen to the band. And it was a beautiful experience. I mean, that's like one of the best moments of me playing this music and being a part of a band that I can remember up until now. Because we was all in it, everybody was all in it. You know, it was before the business came, you know, and everything was, now everything is business, it's work, it's contracts, it's deadlines, but back then when we was kids, it was just music. And we was real competitive at that time. And so what happened, we just did that and we continued to do it, and the people would approach us and start requesting songs that they, man, play that song y'all played yesterday, I like this one. And it was nice, but it was a distraction because we were really trying to learn. And so Jerome talked to the coach, see if we can go inside and practice now, because it was an audience bigger than this, just hanging. They knew what time we was gonna be. They was bringing their kids, everybody was requesting different tunes. And it was nice, but what happened, a few people started approaching us, asking us, one guy in particular said he wanted us to play for a party for his sister, and he wanted us to be his gift to his sister at the party. And he was like, you know, how much y'all charge? I need y'all there for a certain time. And we all looked at each other like, you know, we didn't even have a price list. We were just like, what y'all want? What y'all want? We didn't know what number to give them to contact, and we didn't even know how to book again. So we worked that out. and as we, as we graduated in '94, all of us together, me, Jerome, DeMine, and Harry was right behind us in '95. We started to do a lot of festivals. We had started doing some second line parades. I'm gonna let Raymond explain to y'all about that. And we started to do the French Quarter Fest, Jazz Fest, and that's what we was doing. I mean, we was working. And what happened was, to this day, the very people who came to first look at us began to be our fans, and they began to hire us. That's how we started working. The same people in the park, and all the way up to when Katrina hit. That's really what we was doing. A lot of the band kind of split up, and that's how even how they got formed, because we graduated, like the majority of us graduated in '94, '95. Guys went on to college, guys got married, had kids. It was like 4 of us left. Me, Jerome, Harry, and Jacob Johnson at the time. And we just merged with another band that was developing and was going through problems. And we was doing gigs, really a lot of late night gigs that the Rebirth didn't want to do. But they would send us, so we were supposed to be the Rebirth at 3 in the morning for this party. Everybody's drunk and partying, they didn't know, they didn't hardly play. So what happened with that was, that worked out for us real good. Because Rebirth was well known, and the people who hired them liked to hire the band. And so what happened, the guys were like, I'm getting a lot of calls for this band. So we need to start rehearsing and come up with a name. So we went to rehearsing by Harry House at the time in Carrollton, and we came up with the Hot 8, and here we are. And so up until the hurricane, that's what we was doing. Since to Katrina, we were just being competitive and performing in every festival in the city. We really wasn't traveling. And when Hurricane Katrina hit, we kind of split up for a minute. Everybody was scattered all over. Some guys had to be rescued. And we got a phone call. I had got a phone call. The guy was like, hey, Benny, what's up with the band? I said, well, right now everybody kind of scattered. At that time we all had Nextel, so the guys who was in New Orleans, they church would work. So they didn't have any way to charge their phone, so they would cut it off until about 6 o'clock, and then we would talk for a minute just to keep in touch with each other. And that's what we did. So we wound up, the guy said, what's up with the band? I said, we all scattered. He said, well, if I get a gig with y'all for phone. I said, yeah, if we can make it for phone, but we don't have no instruments. He said, don't worry about that. So in Baton Rouge, that's where the gig was at. The So Go Live, I remember that. And LSU in a high school from Baton Rouge, I forget the high school name, they both donated instruments, trumpets and tubas and stuff for us to perform. And that was the first time we seen each other. And so what happened was we wound up waking up the next morning. We had instruments, we had each other, we was happy to see each other first time from the hurricane, and we ain't had nothing to do. So we wound up going to play at some of the shelters that the people was relocated from the storm were at. And so we just pulled up, jumped out the vans, and just went to blowing away. And everybody, I mean, when we got there, they had the military police there with guns, they had people just in huddles crying. The place was just, it struck everybody was just, really in a messed up state of mind. And so when we pull up, we start playing, everybody just ran towards us. And they went to jamming and rejoicing and having a good time. And so did we, and then we look around, everybody crying. Some of us crying, they crying. And it was a lot of people who we knew. It was fans of the band, people who come to our regular gigs, and family members. And we went to about 2 more other shelters and we did the same thing. And they had the media out there, so people from CNN and all these places wanted to know what was the band, who was that band, and who sent them, and where y'all come from. And so we wound up getting a lot of media and publicity from doing that. But the main thing I remember, and the most important thing I remember from doing that was as a group, we at that moment when we pulled up and started playing, as a group we kind of realized that the power in our music and the power in what we was doing and how it moved everybody. And at that moment, everybody just did away with what they was going through in their personal life and just enjoyed themselves. And it kind of helped and soothed them to deal with what they was going through, and vice versa, it did it to us too. Because we were still relocated. Me and Terrell made it from Atlanta. And he was in Houston. And Raymond was, where he was at? He was in Texas. Everybody, so we made it to Baton Rouge. You know, we got down there, and it kind of just was, it was magical to us. And as a group, collectively, we just said, you know, we liked the feeling of what we felt, and we wanted to do more. And so we joined with Young People's Project. It was based, they have a base in Boston, and they also have one in Jackson, Mississippi. But it's an offspring from the Algebra Project with Bob Moses and stuff. And so we joined with them, and they helped us, and we toured the whole South region. We went everywhere, Tennessee, Atlanta, and that's what we did. We just talked to everybody where they was relocated, and he kind of helped us, and they supplied like information and stuff of that nature for the people to get resources to help them through the storm and what they were dealing with. And we did that for about 2 or 3 years. After the storm, that's what we was doing, was working. And while we was in these different places, we was booking gigs to help us earn a little money as we go. And we just realized as a group the power that we had in the music and the power that's in the music and that we possess, because that's the only thing we could offer was our music. And wow, it was like, it was magical to see the people's faces and see them just get rid of and do away with what they was going through and just enjoy themselves and just be happy that they made it, you know. And since then, up to the present day, we've been traveling. And that's what we always wanted to do when we was the Looney Tunes. You know, when we first started, we just wanted to travel. You know, we had dreams of traveling the world, going overseas, and playing our music for people who never heard us, and just establishing who the Hot 8 was worldwide, becoming the brand. And in between that, business came in. Now, you might talk to a few guys and they might want to stay in New Orleans. They said, let them come travel from Europe, let them come over here. I'm tired. They would get first class, you know, because, you know, it's just a lot now. But we still love it, and we still very happy to be culture barriers of this culture here in New Orleans. And right now I'm going to stop talking. I really don't talk too much. Matt didn't do it. But I'm glad to be here, and glad to introduce y'all to the Hot 8 Brass Band. We're going to play a little bit. We're going to let my brother Raymond talk to y'all about the New Orleans second line and the jazz films.
Okay, at this time, I'd just like to maybe touch a little bit on the idea of the jazz funerals. Those of you from New Orleans are very familiar with it. You probably seen jazz funerals, most likely you've seen them. Those that are not may have seen them and never understood what it really is or what it's about. What a jazz funeral really is, it's a celebration of the life of the person that passed. You know, you'll see a band out there performing and people second lining. And second line is many descriptions of what the word second line means. About 3 different descriptions, you know. One is you'll see the band parading down the street, and usually they'll say the band is the first line, and the people that follow the band are the second lines. So they are second line behind the band. Another description of the word second line is a parade. Some people may say, I'm going to the second line. We're going to check out the second line. We're going to see a parade. We're going to see a brass band parading through the streets. And usually a second line usually goes 2 to 4 hours, mostly 4 hours. When the Associated Pleasure Club, they'll parade out every Sunday. Different clubs parade out every Sunday. And it usually be a 4-hour parade. And I like to call that a movable concert because people will follow the bands from the beginning to the end. Another description of the second line is the dance. You know, you see the people dancing to the music. And there's no set dance or you can do what you feel as long as you do it in time and beat with the music, you know. But you can do what you feel, pat your feet, clap your hands, shake your hip, you know, whatever moves you. And you'll see people doing so many different things out there. So they call that second line when they follow dancing with the band. But the jazz funeral, back to the jazz funeral, I like to mention, it's a celebration of the person's life. And usually it starts at the beginning of the church or at the funeral home. And there's 2 parts to the jazz funeral. The first part is like a slow, somber, mournful, sorrowful part of the funeral, where once the body leaves the church, the band will parade right in front of the hearse, and it will play slow spirituals. They would call it dirges, very slow tempo spiritual, just going down the street, parading down the street. Nowadays, we only parade for about 6 to 10 blocks from the church, for about 6 to 10 blocks, but in the earlier days, they used to parade from the church all the way to the cemetery. And sometimes that would take all day, depending on how far the cemetery was from the church. But today we just play, like I said, the first part of it is very slow and somber, mournful, slow spiritual. Then once we maybe parade a couple of blocks, we would go to the second part of the jazz funeral, which is called Cutting the Body Loose. And that's when the band split up on both sides of the street, where the hearse would pass between the band. And at that point, we would play something up-tempo, like a spirited tempo music. It could be a spiritual, or it could be something that a person liking who passed. If you knew the person personally, or if you're a musician, we may play something that maybe their favorite tune, or request from a family member, or someone that know the deceased. Say, well, hey, can you guys play this song? We would play that tune, and then the funeral will pass between the band, and they will be heading to the cemetery. And then call that part, Cutting the Body Loose, where everybody will start really celebrating the life of the person. So we're gonna, at this time, maybe give a musical demonstration of what a jazz funeral is like. We're going to start off maybe with a slow spiritual time, maybe just close and walk with you, and then we're going to go to an up-tempo spiritual. quick demonstration of the jazz finger.
Well, that's about what we was doing. A little bit of what we were doing since we got out of school, yeah. Around the city of New Orleans, along with having a great opportunity to represent this music internationally all over the world, outside of the world, and actually state to state. We got our next trip we got planned is to Portland. We have another opportunity to represent New Orleans and Haiti at the end of this month. So we just thankful for had that opportunity. And at this time, we're just going to talk a little bit about the Haiti and at the present time and what's going on now with the state of the brass band culture and what's happening. It's kind of a bittersweet thing to me personally because since after the hurricane, the city's been working hard to rebuild, and for the most part, they've been doing a good job. But as far as with the entertainment, and just with the brass band culture, not only brass band, with the Indians, with the Zydeco, with Cajun music, also just the entertainment part of it. We've been having a really blessed opportunity with the Hollywood South thing coming in. They're doing a lot of movies here now, so it gives us as musicians an opportunity to either be seen or featured in a movie, or just our music being used in different movies. And so it's been giving us opportunity to just elevate to another level in the music business and in the industry. And we've been fortunate to be in the series, the HBO series Trini. We had a big piece of the second season. And if anyone's familiar, I know you probably remember Terrell. He was all in it. And we actually have a little scene that we do in the third season with us and Dr. Michael White. I believe it starts in September, so you can find us on that. And also, when the leverage broke with Spike Lee, we had an opportunity to be a part of that. And God's willing, and the Creek Gonna Rise, the second part to it. We had an opportunity to be a part of that. We had an opportunity to tour with Lauryn Hill for about 4 months. We actually started off opening up for her, and then before the tour was over, we were actually her horn section. And we had an opportunity to come here in New Orleans to perform the Jazz Fest with her, and actually perform our regular gig at the Jazz Fest as well. And so a lot of doors been opening up for us. So that's been a blessing. But mainly here in New Orleans, a lot of new brass bands been on the uprising. A lot of younger guys, and that's really a truly a blessing because I always know we was young bands. They coming up, they're still in school, I remember those days, but it's good because they have a great opportunity. But some of the not so good and unfortunate things about it is that it's not really, the culture is not taught in our school system. And and here in Louisiana we have one of the poorest school systems already. And being that New Orleans, growing up in New Orleans, it's really, put it on the line, it's just really about the culture, the music, and the food here. We have Fortune 500 companies and nothing going on here in New Orleans. So it's important that the kids learn about the culture. Because at the end of the day, if all else fails, the school system fails you for whatever reason, or you fail yourself, being a knucklehead, you will have opportunity to clamp onto your culture, and we live in proof where it brings you, where it could bring you if you just focus and be serious about something. If you done failed out, everything else that failed in your life is lack of focus somewhere with yourself. But when you get ready to find yourself, it looks like, you know, because a lot of guys, friends of ours, is still in the streets and things of that nature. And when they look around, they're convicted felons, they can't vote, they can't get a job. You know, people like that, but they're still good people at heart. If they knew something about their culture, they had a hint that this thing could open a door for them where they can clap onto it and maybe get just an extra role in a movie and leave from that to a commercial and open up some doors for themselves without having to look to the streets for as their only way out, because that's all they see out there. Because it's still a rough part of New Orleans. Besides, you know, when the music stops and everybody's full and they back away from the dinner table, you know, it have a dark side of this city in this place, you know, and it's just, you know, the way it is, you know, and I really wish that they could teach it in the school system. They have NOPA here, but I myself, I didn't go to NOPA. I couldn't. And you have to apply, you have to take the tests, you have to be at a certain criteria to make it in. So everybody's not going to make it, you know, and it's sad, but just being a brass band musician, it really opened me up to a lot of sad things planned for a lot of funerals. A lot of people killed, murdered, or whatever situation, or just died, you know. So we're exposed to it, and here in New Orleans we use it as a celebration of life, but after a while, well, as a person, as a musician, you wear me. You know, doing so many funerals, you know, seeing families sad and stuff like that. And sometimes it's sensitive violence, sometimes it's just health reasons or whatever. But whatever it is, it's an experience. I wouldn't change it. You know, that's just what it is. But back to the younger musicians, and I wish that we as the Hot Eight, we try to reach them, but we can't forget that they're a product of the environment. So sometimes they listen, most times they don't. They have to find out on their own for whatever reason. They can see us and they look up to us, but when we try to grab them and tell them, look, this is what they're going to take if you want to, you know, go down this path and try to seek some success. You're going to have to humble yourself. You're going to have to seek out. You're going to have to do some reading and researching about your business and what you're doing, because it's a business. And it all kind of gets fuzzy right there. They can't grab it. And it's, when I talk to them and I get to know him, 21, 20 years old, but he dropped out of school. You know, and that's all he's been doing is playing in the French quarter. You know, they have a dark side where the Big Easy, that's what they call us, and it's heartening to me because I see a lot of my mentors who, when I first started, you know, it's the Big Easy. So by you being a musician, it's easy for you to live here. You know, especially if you don't have a goal, dream, vision, something to clamp onto and be focused and try to achieve. You know, you can grab your home, and it's easy for you to learn the music and become a hell of a performer because it's here. And a lot of people talented, and as far as they're going to go is right on bourbon, Frenchman, and play for tips. But you know, you can make $50 or $80 a day just to take care of your habits and sleep by a family member house. And you look around, and a year, or 6 months to a year turns to 10 years you've been doing it. And 20 years you've been doing it. And I know some guys who had opportunities to play with Dirty Dozen, started with Rebirth and and older musicians that have been doing this all their life, been around the world, but they get caught up with just doing that and taking the easy way out. For whatever reason, don't want to face the problems get a hold on to what's to reality, and they kind of suck them under, you know. So we, as the Hot Eight, we started a lot of different Hot Eight outreach programs that we had started at certain times to go to different schools and just talk to the kids and try to offer them an insight on their culture. And we do it with the younger bands. And it's really important that they get it, because the music business is not too friendly, and people will take advantage of your knowledge or the lack thereof, and then it brings down other bands that really have their business together, because everybody they just go get a brass band to make, you know, music. So that's something that we try to, in our own little Hot Eight little world, trying to help stop, because it's a lot of young bands, and they like we were when we first started. They're just competitive. They just want to play music, you know. But they don't understand that it's a business, you know. So that's something that we've been trying to do just among ourselves right here in the city. And whenever we go on the road, we have it with our booking agent that if we could, we have a lecture to just talk to kids about music. And it's been great for us to get mail from parents saying that ever since y'all left my son or my daughter's school, she's been bugging me for a trumpet or a trombone. She wants to play music now. Updates, follow-up, she's in a band now, he's in a band, he's playing drum, I got him a drum set, and then it's bringing a smile to our face. But we really love that. If we can just get New Orleans and do what we can do to help our city, because the future of it, we don't know what lies ahead. We will have a strong following of youngsters following ahead, you know, and that leads up to us. We kind of like in the middle, you know. Our group ranged from Clarence, I think 22, all the way up to Dr. Ralph. But I mean, and that helps us too. That helps us a lot too, because we get to we use that to our strength by just the different music and repertoire. That helps our repertoire when we travel, because you know, from Trixie on up, they keep us young. His musical influences and Dr. Rocco music influences might be older, but it keeps us to have a family-oriented audience where grandma, mom, and grandkids can come and jam with the Hot Eight. You know, because the younger kids, if they hanging out with their grandparents, they're going to try to get help there because they can't relate. But when we incorporate some younger music where they can relate, they're excited, the parents excited, and everybody love the Hot Eight for us. So it helps us to have a bigger fan base. And that's how we kind of use the age differences in the band to our advantage. But another thing that's going on at the present time is the tradition is dealing with the older musicians. They still have a lot of them around, not as many because they died. A lot of them passed after the storm. And recently Uncle Lionel passed, Lionel Baptiste, drummer for the Tremé, and we're going to have a big celebration for him right now at 5 o'clock it started. We couldn't make it. He was too bad. But that's all right. They've been doing it all this week, and they're going to do it all next week. The funeral is going to be next weekend, I just heard. So have a whole other week of celebrating every day. All the musicians meet down in the Tremé area, and they just blow out at least 2-3 hours for, you know, 4? About 4 hours. They just do everybody, Reed Bird, everybody just come out. And it's going on right now downtown. So, you know, with that being said, the arguments between the older musicians and the younger musicians, especially like us, because we kind of in the middle, is they have issues with the dress code. You know, like the older those musicians, they were sharp. Have you seen the picture of any of them? They had their suits on, they had ties, hats, their shoes were shining. And most of the band leaders also had a roll call. The band had to check in with the leader. He had to check in from head to toe, make sure their shoes were shining, just like almost like the military. I always talked to him, and I was wondering why. He was like, well, back then, dealing with everything that they were dealing with, the times were different, and being oppressed or whatever, it was like they took deep pride in that because that's the only thing that made them feel like a human, feel like a man, and it demanded respect. Once you heard the music, it got your attention, and you respected it, no matter who you were. But then when you seen how clean those guys were, you had to respect that too. And they took pride in that. So when they see us, and they might see us like this, we represent our band, we have holiday t-shirts on, we thinking we did a good job. And they're like, they ain't the same color. Y'all had the same colored pants on. And it look like y'all, they're gonna have a big problem with it, definitely. And for real. And so, and they was not only expressing it, they went to beating us with that. Especially me, when I have a conversation with them. So I was humble. You're right, we'll work on it. I say, you know what? That was the time y'all was living in. I had to fight back. I was like, that was the time y'all was living in, way back in the early 30s, 40s. And if you see any picture, everybody had on gowns and suits. The women had on, they had their little hats on, everybody looked like they was going somewhere. And they could just go to the mall. To the grocery store. But they had their suits and stuff. And now everything is more conservative. People wear t-shirts and jeans and more relaxed, even to church. I know a lot of churches, even my church, my pastor didn't come at you all. He don't want you to be scared to come into church because you don't have a suit. He's more interested in trying to help you and help you have a relationship with God and kind of bring your soul and have your soul in the right place than he is if you have a suit. And I was like, yeah, that's right. I'll take that back to the old times when they come in. Give me some ammo to fight back. Because they just whipping me with this here triad thing and stuff like that. And so at a point in time, we had to put our foot down. Look, when y'all had y'all time. And when it was y'all time and it was a present time, that's what the foundation y'all laid down. And to pay homage to y'all and respect, we dress up. If you catch us on the road and you catch us at a different type of engagement, you'll see us with our suits on and stuff. But we would love to come just like this. That's a part of being a musician. It's free. There's more freedom to it. And of course, they just looked at me with a serious step. I can't believe this. I'm gonna have to die to this. They take it seriously. They don't talk loud, but the words are real sharp. Man, they cut you when you have a conversation with them one-on-one. I'm telling you. So we try to do our share of traditional tunes and hymns and dirges, and we always try to. If we could, like I said, have a lecture where we can talk about it and express it to our audience. And then later on at the show, we'll perform a little music to pay homage to them. But it's important for us, for the next 40 or 50 years, when we old, or we dead and gone, when we establish who the hot eight was in our own form. In fact, I think it wouldn't be fair if we were just to continue to mimic the older musicians, and so I feel, just my personal belief, that you pay your respect to them, you pay homage, you learn the music the right way, which you got to go back to them and do, because they don't want to know it. Can't get it out of the book. You can get all the real books, all the fake books, and it's not going to show you how to put your heart, soul, and spirit behind it. It's going to just be blind. It's going to be like and you can't, so you have to go to them and get it. And they want to give it to you, but they want to make sure you're serious and you want to carry it the right way. And so we've been fortunate enough to work with Dr. Michael White, and Fred Johnson, the Black Men of Labor Social and Pressure Club, and also Leroy Jones, and a few other older musicians. Uncle Benny Jones, he hired a few musicians from time to time about the band. And they always let you sit in. You're welcome to the gig to get the experience. You don't get paid. But you can come and hang out and learn. So that's enough for me, though. You know, that's enough for us because that's all we need. You know, and that's really what we've been doing. That's one of our main goals at the Hot Eight, just to kind of preserve that culture, but also leave our impression. We've been identified through the music, y'all.